Hello, teacher, and hi everyone. My name is Jyoti, and I would like to speak uh, from lesson 1 to lesson 10 as I first reading aloud. Yes, thank you for your listening, and I would like to start. Lesson 5, Richness Imitation written 1, page 176 and 185. Following the lamp of richness in wisdom, richness in meditation is the second lamp that needs to be lit among the seven comprehensive riches. So what is richness? In meditation, to clarify the knowing, believing, and understanding of richness in meditation, we first need to grasp the definition of meditation. The person who masters that meditation and the person who is rich in meditation. Meditation is understood as the emotional state of inner being. And the patient who masters their meditation is someone who proactively chooses it and takes responsibility for the choices within their inner being in order to master external circumstances. A patient who is rich in meditation is someone who consistently maintains the emotions of appreciation, gratitude in feeling, tolerance in nature, and joyful peace in their heart. Appreciation, gratitude. A patient who achieves the state of peace and joy turns appreciation gratitude. To understand the concept of peace and joy, we first need to clearly distinguish the reasons that create happiness. Human happiness comes from two reasons: pleasures or peace and joy. Pleasure is the emotional state of the inner being when the great and illusion regarding wild beauty, fame, food, and sleep are temporarily satisfied. For example, eating a chicken or buying a car can bring happiness, but how long can this happiness last? A week, a month, half a year, or a year? Regardless of the answer, the happiness derived from pleasure will ultimately not last forever. When people lose the happiness caused by pleasure, they continue seeking other satisfaction for their greed and delusion. People often chase the happiness caused by pleasure for their entire lives. When greed and delusion are satisfied, people are happy. When they are not satisfied, people lose that happiness. Therefore, people need to know more about the happiness that comes from peace and joy. It's the state of the internal awareness where the greed and delusion related to our beauty, fame, food, and sleep are released, stopped, ceased, or cut off. Is the state of internal awareness originating from the truth within oneself is termed from hearing, seeing, saying, knowing with the attachment to the layer of nature and the layer of feeling of the person. Is the state of internal awareness that knows that one is hearing, knows that one is seeing, knows that one is saying, and knows that one is knowing. A person who achieves the meditation of peace and joy is a person for whom the conflict of or incomplete possession of material objects satisfying greed and delusion is no longer a determining factor for happiness. It is a person who, when hearing, seeing the opponent's problem, only knows that they are hearing and only knows that they are seeing. Thus, when a person can master the peace and tormentation, if they achieve satisfaction of truth and delusion regarding wild beauty, fame, food, and sleep, they may experience happiness derived from pleasure. However, even if they do not achieve it, they can still experience the happiness due to peace and joy to receive the peace and joy meditation. The simplest way is to thoroughly understand the knowledge of the human structure, recognize the truth within oneself, and thereby initiate the nature of emptiness nullity. Then peace and joy will manifest from that. Tolerance, the energy of appreciation, gratitude, tolerance. To clarify the concept of tolerance, we need to grasp the following concepts. A person with the virtue of forgiveness. The urgent basis mistake is parts, they take all 10 parts into themselves. And over time, 7 parts remain. If the mistake is repeated, anger, resentment, rise up again. A person with the virtue of altruism, the other person's mistake is 10 parts, they take 7 parts into themselves. And over time, 5 parts remain. If the other person's mistake continues to recur, the person's state changes, causing anger, resentment to rise. A person with the virtue of magnanimity, leniency, the other person's mistake is 10 parts. They take 4 or 5 parts into themselves, and over time, 1, 2 parts remain. And sometimes the mistakes are completely gone. A person with the virtue of tolerance, the other person's mistake is 10 parts. They do not internalize the other person's mistake into themselves. We have this partly envisioned tolerance. Next, let's look at the definition of tolerance according to the UNESCO reference framework. Tolerance is respecting and understanding the differences of others regarding oneself in custom, living conceptions, religious beliefs, traits, and ways of acting. It is accepting that others do things that one does not approve of within a certain limit in order to guide them voluntarily towards goodness. And according to the WIT reference framework, information normalization tolerance is the internal state of not being attached to anything that occurs in the mind due to external circumstances. Energization tolerance is the state where the nature of greed and the nature of delusion cease. Materialization, respect, understanding, and acceptance within a certain limit. When a person has tolerance for others not being attached to their force, that person will voluntarily strive towards goodness. If we can show tolerance for a child's force, that child will voluntarily strive towards goodness. If we can show tolerance for a spouse's force, the husband or wife will voluntarily strive towards goodness. If we can show tolerance for an employee or boss, they will voluntarily strive towards goodness. If we can show tolerance for ourselves, we will voluntarily strive towards goodness. A story is told a girl rhythmically dreamed a strange dream. In the dream, she saw many people locked inside a dark house, touchily secured by a rusty padlock, and they let it to be rescued. Following this, she became 16 pale and seemed increasingly fit, lifeless. Now, doctor could diagnose her illness. She heard that an old man could cure strange disease, so she traveled a long time. Listen to find him. After hearing her account of what was happening, the monk said, "This is not difficult. This is okay. Wear it around your neck. And the next time you have that dream, remember to use to open the door of dark house. Your illness will disappear after you rescue the people inside." She thanked the monk and returned home with the key. 2 days later, she had the dream again. This time, she approached the house and looked inside. She discovered the people in the house were those she had deeply resented. The mother-in-law who had insulted her, the neighbor who had slandered her, the childhood friend who had pushed her into filthy ditch and almost drowned her, and others. She continued looking deeper and saw a three-legged dog. Suddenly realized it was the cowardly dog that had bitten her when she was little on her way to school. In short, all of them had hurt her. She decided not to open the door because she thought they deserved to be locked up. She did not use the girl key and ignored their cries for help. Days passed and her illness worsened. She decided to see the monk once more. The monk said, "You only have one chance. You miss this opportunity. The girl key will no longer be able to help you. The next time you have a dark room, you must unlock it before the padlock is completely sealed by rust." She decided to follow the monk's words this time. That evening, she dreamed the strange dream again. With the hesitation, she bravely took out the key and opened the door. Everyone in the house rushed out immediately after the door opened. The house began to shake violently. From the corner of the room, a girl slowly walked herself towards the door. She looked very sharply, extremely weak and pitiful. She looked very much like the dreamer. Stepping closer for a careful look, she realized it was herself and no one else. The dark house suddenly collapsed. Right. After that, Vera stepped outside immediately afterward, showing the sunlight beginning to spread, erasing all the darkness. That light was incredibly glorious and woke her up. Her health gradually recovered. Her eyes became cheerful, her face regained its healthy glow, and she looked beautiful again. She returned to find the monk to understand what had happened. To her, the monk said, in life you stir up the force of every one who cursed you harm. You may have thought you forgave those who wronged you, but in reality you stirred a lot inside, torturing yourself with the force of others. And over time, those accumulated feelings of resentment caused you to become ill. My child, looking others up is also looking yourself up. Looking up the past is also looking up the hurt. Accumulated resentment inside you is like a dark house without light. Open the door and let that light float in so your life can be better. Usually, when we use the mistake of others to torture ourselves, it is like drinking poison and wishing the other person would die. If we do not show tolerance for ourselves, we cannot show tolerance for others. Showing tolerance for others is the simplest way to save our future, and we ourselves are the one who needs the most tolerance. Once you have the energy source of tolerance, karmic connection will simply be activated. Appreciation gratitude. The sages have pointed out to us that appreciation gratitude is always present in every person. So is it not simple for us to obtain this surge of energy? This is because taken for grantedness has appeared within us. When taken for grantedness exists, appreciation gratitude disappears and resentment forms from that. Taken for grantedness is very large jet for the inner being as soon as the edge of earth's happiness is respected over time. The mentation of taken for grantedness naturally develops. Example, it is obvious that the mother is the child's mother, so she must take care of the child. It is obvious that the wife is the husband's wife, so she must cook for the husband. It is obvious that the child is the parent's child, so the child must obey the parents. A story is told, a young man had great benevolence. One day, the young man moved to a new neighborhood and saw a beggar nearby. The young man committed to help being the beggar with 2 coins every day. He gave money this way continuously for 3 years. In the 4th year, the young man only gave the beggar 1 coin. The beggar was surprised and asked why he was only giving 1 coin when the young man had promised to give 2 coins every day for years. The young man said that he had recently married last month, so he has saving a pit for the child. He asked the beggar to take one only coin from now on. Hearing this, the beggar became angry and slapped the young man twice, saying to him, "That's why of yours stole 1 coin from me. Taken for grantedness is what erases our appreciation gratitude. So how can we erase this taken for grantedness? The way we hardly realize individuals have pointed out to is to notice the inner sensation of being moved. The inner sensation of being moved is that internal feeling within the inner being that one has something that one does not deserve but receives it anyway. It is the condition where what boundaries is the nature of greed and the nature of delusion of reality regarding wild beauty, fame, food, and sleep. When you are eating a pair of rice, what do you see in those grains of rice? You may see that to have that pair of rice, someone had to go to the market to buy rice, cook it, and serve it to us to have the rice to cook. There must have been people selling rice at the market and there. And before that, the rice had to be transported by rivers to have the vehicle to transport the rice. We owe the Japanese current engineers because they produced the vehicles and for the rice to be grown, we also owe the people of town for the rice cultivation technology with the various pesticides. We also owe the technology of the Chinese just just to eat a very ordinary power of rice. The, we are already indebted to the favor of thousands and millions of people. However, usually we consider the things we have as a taken for granted. Being able to eat is taken for granted, drinking water is taken for granted, and being cared for and looked after by loved ones is also taken for granted. Fortunately for us, we can completely nurture the inner sensation of being moved with a mindset like this. What others do not for me is what they shouldn't do. What I do for others is what I should do. Should do once we nurture the inner sensation of being moved, it is very simple for us to begin to have appreciation, gratitude. Appreciation and gratitude and resentment are like light and darkness. Once appreciation, gratitude is present, all resentment will disappear. Simultaneously, the energy source of appreciation, gratitude will activate our karmic results. Summary, thus we have reached the lamp of richness in meditation. A person who is rich in meditation is one who has appreciation, gratitude in emotion, tolerance in nature, and peace and joy in the mind. A person who is rich in meditation will keep their internal electromagnetic vibration states balanced and positive directional. This activates the seeds of karmic total in the subconscious towards a positive direction. Peace and joy will activate karmic awareness. Tolerance will activate karmic connection. And appreciation, gratitude will activate karmic result from this. It is very simple for people to have a good life. Yeah, and that's all. Thank you for your listening. I just this in this record I just read the lesson 5 first. Thank you very much. Bye. See you next video. Bye.